Hello, welcome to episode 11 of the Blindsided podcast. In today's live stream, we're going to discuss why change is so, I was going to say why difficult is so change. Why change is so difficult. We're actually going to debunk uh, why change is so difficult. And maybe that question won't be a part of your thinking anymore as you move forward. And hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and I am a coach. I'm a speaker, and I'm a co founder of Thriving Blind Academy. And today I got Stan in the house.
Thank you, Charlie. I love being here, and our energy just is synchronized. So it's a thrill to be here with you. And I'm Stanley Dietrich from 360 Life Without Limits. I'm also a coach. I've spoke, and I bring about transformation to people in a positive way. So I'm excited to be here talking about this subject because it's so relevant to where we are right now.
Well, after the past 10 weeks, each element kind of shines a light on the problem or a problem. And, as we know, if you have a flat, you have determined the problem. Now, there's different things you can do to get it fixed, but if you just understand or you now know you have a problem, it takes a decision, some action and things to solve that. And I thought, let's talk today about change because I don't know, it's like scary for so many people.
It is. And the thing of it is, just like you said, it's scary. So we stick to that commonality of what is usual, not necessarily normal, but it's usual. It's that comfort zone of certainty.
I'm going to switch us to the now I can have a little more flexibility.
There we go.
All right. So what we're going to do is just go over, this is not a 2-day seminar that, and I say that because there's layers, unpacking of things, but knowing some of the areas of why we struggle. We try to change and then we seem to fall back to our old way. And it isn't entirely the person's fault. Like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a loser or stupid because I can't move forward. It is actually our psyche. It's the way we're built, and our brain's number one job. Well, I shouldn't say number one because breathing in the heart is a good job, but is keeping us safe. I mean, when humans were evolved, when you woke up, one of your biggest concerns was not getting eaten or staying alive for the day. That isn't so much our concern anymore, but our brains will, they get up and think, how can I help keep you safe today? And that could be the habits and the things we're doing that aren't serving us that well, but it's our, like you said, it's our familiar zone. It's what we know and it's what we do.
Right. You made a great point, Charlie, about our brain puts us in that protective mode and that survival mode. And the idea is that the programs that we have in our mind, and you've talked about this before, about the pathways that our brain is making. And so we get into those programs and we get attached to them. And then they attach to us. And that's why change, I think, is a big issue. And people see it more of a mountain, as a difficulty, rather than as an opportunity, because it is a variety. It's different.
And we're not talking like, oh, I'm going to go change my shoes, because that is a kind of change. But the shoes you're changing to are already have a relationship with your foot and brain. So the known of putting that other pair of shoes on is safe. I don't feel threatened or uncomfortable or, like this isn't right. It's like, it's okay. So I yeah, I don't know, about age 40, I always wanted to play the guitar, but I couldn't because I wasn't going to be good. And I mean, this was the old me thinking, I watched guitarists and they made it look so easy. And I thought, boy, I can't, I wish I was born with Stevie Ray Vaughan's talent. You know, I obviously he just had it. And yes, some people have the gift, and they can adapt and learn quicker, but that's not the norm. And you got to put work in. And so I had to change the way I approached it. So the way I thought about it. And
Mhm.
I started trying and I got frustrated. I gave up because it wasn't safe. I'm challenging my brain. And what does that mean? Well, neuroplasticity is forming new connections. What fires together wires together. And so our brains can constantly create new connections, which will eventually over time become a habit. But with the guitar, I wasn't sticking to it. I was giving up. Then I would say, let me try again. And then I started making a little progress. So, and then I stuck to it and I learned. But each time I approached learning, I had to change certain things. It's like the way I was doing it wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be.
Mhm.
If I do what I did in 2023, then I will not go or be and have what I want to have in 2024. It's like, I remember saying, so, well, if you did what you did in 2017, you will not get what you want in 2018. And it's not so much what I want, it's more who do I want to be. So, Stanley, I stuck to it and I kept doing it and kept changing and looking at it. And change is a lot to do with thinking, not so much doing. Doing and thinking together form that DSP. We won't go deep into dendrite spine protuberances.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked about Stevie Ray Vaughan, and that was maybe not an idol, but I'm going to use that word just for the simplicity. And you saw where he was at the point where you were, and that was what was making you want to give up. And it was that change, is that a lot of times we will judge ourselves where we are based on someone else where they are, and we miss that time frame between where they started and where we met them. And that change, that now you are like Stevie Ray Vaughan. And actually, Stevie Ray Vaughan is probably going to watch this podcast, and he's going to be reaching out to you later this afternoon. So just get ready for the big change. And it's just that.
Stanley, just now I know for a fact you did not listen or follow because Stevie died many years ago. Uh, that's awesome. So anyway, I wanted to, we're just trying to lay some foundation and all, but one of the first things I have my notes today, fear of the unknown. So number one is like fear of the unknown. And I mean, the baby has two fears and it's getting scared, the unknown. And I forget the second one as a baby, but anyway, this unknown. So if like one of my sayings in business and marketing and thing was always same is lame. It doesn't capture attention and people won't read, do, or take action if it's the same old marketing message as everyone else. So I would always say same is lame. Let's not do anything that they're doing because they are getting the results I don't want. So this unknown. So if fear of the unknown, and I know I'm not sure if I make this change, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is maybe I'll transform. I'll get healthier. I'll have better relationships. So there's many reasons, but I don't know how to get to where I want to get. So this change is scary, but that's just our bodies, our way. We know one way, and to do it a new way, well, I don't know. I might fail.
Yeah, when you say change is scary, it opens up that vulnerability within us, and it's not certain because we don't have a benchmark, so we have no bearing as to what it could bring, and so that's why the change becomes that scary monster. I don't know in your part of the country, but in my part of the country, when I was growing up, they actually had boogeymen that slept under my bed. Now, you know, they were real. And those boogeymen we can take them into our adult life. And they're that element of change. And it's uncertainty, it's variety, it's vulnerability. And when you bring all that together, those are the elements that bring about transformation as you share.
Yeah. That darn boogeyman.
Yeah.
I know, and he would speak to us. That is the power of the mind. I mean,
Yes.
I believe that thing was there, and I am ready to jump out the window. So then another area is comfort zone, and we're talking about that. And comfort zone means the brain thinks it's safe. So it doesn't mean it's working for you. It means that it's familiar, it's known, and it feels comfortable. So, and when I go up against that, that's when I challenge, because the connection's not there. You've got to fire it, and it wires and wires. And then once that's done, eventually 30, 60 days out, you will drop into the fourth level of learning, which is unconscious competence.
Yeah.
And unconscious competence is I can play all 7 notes on the guitar and have a conversation, not thinking my hand and all, it's just doing the notes on the guitar, but I could be talking about the weather outside. Now, when I started, I had to study where my fingers were going, how much pressure to apply, how to do this, how to pluck the strings, and to keep the muscle memory, my fingers kept popping off the neck of the guitar because I'm not used to being there and it doesn't feel comfortable. Well, you shut up. Go right back there.
Right.
And over time, it became unconsciously competent. But that isn't the truth with all my guitar playing. It takes quite a bit of thinking and focus.
Yeah, I want to bring up one of the comments in the chat. Kate says that the change process is often the procedures at work, and most people complain. So people see changes and the processes, and they complain about them. And change can be scary. It's the uncertainty of what it will bring, because that's a great point. The idea is that we get used to the same old because it's comfortable. We don't have to do anything different. It's the same as we walk across the house, the same number of steps. We make coffee at the same time. We walk out the door at the same time. We put the same clothes on without thinking about it. On Monday, we wear the red. On Tuesday, we wear the green. On Wednesday, we wear the orange. Am I giving my laundry list out? So
yeah, and that thought continues. So we live in the known. We do. At 35, we're basically programmed, and it's not like that. It's just notice that we have beliefs, we have values, we have habits, we have a way we're going through life unconscious and living the dream. But then we wake up and say, wait a minute, something's not working, and then we wake up to the, only 5% of my conscious mind is saying, hey, we should do this differently. And 95%, nope, we like it the way it's been programmed. Don't change that. And and when that comes up against working for an organization that implements a change, there's 2 things. First of all, I didn't come up with it. That bothers me. And I think it's stupid. I like doing the way I'm doing it, even though maybe it's not getting the company the results. They figured out a new system, software program, or they want us to come in a half an hour early. It's like all of those disrupt my familiar, my comfort zone. And I didn't say I don't have a choice. They say you're doing this. And it's like, and that's definitely where corporate and culture and all that, where you hear a lot of those discussions around the water cooler.
And change is embraced. We've learned as a culture that change is not something to embrace.
And and loss of control.
And loss of control because of that.
Right. If I'm doing what I'm doing the way I've been doing it, I seem to be able to control, how I feel about making the coffee and the result I'm going to get and the result of a shower and the result, it's like, I have control of that. But really, when we get upset or things are going on, we're trying to control something outside of us. I'm making that change. So this, and that's where we start to get irritable or tense, or this doesn't work when we're stepping outside of that familiar zone.
Right. And it's in the comments that change is inevitable. It's necessary to move forward. So we need to embrace it. And, it is. Can you imagine, when Henry Ford was making the car, people said they just wanted a faster horse. And Henry Ford said, I'll give you something better than a horse that goes faster, further, and it's a smoother ride. But there was objection to that change. And now everybody, can you imagine how many people would rather go back now to the horse and dirt trails?
Well, actually, yeah, they were going to add a horse. So not you would, your buggy had 1 horsepower. Now it would have 2. And now you can buy a buggy with 900 horsepower.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Because that was disruptive. That went against cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
I have a set of beliefs and values. So at age 8, if you sat down next to me and said, there is no Santa Claus, I would be like, that's not possible. Why? Because to the deepest core of me, I believe in him. And I had experience. Presents showed up. And the house I lived in played it up. Everything was hidden. So there's no way there's no Santa Claus. I could never believe you until the day I believed it. And I was bummed. So that's where this cognitive dissonance, where I am so ingrained in the way I think and do, that if you disrupt that or tell me there's a different, maybe it's not a better way, but the only way you can determine that is to try to do something different and see if the results you're getting are moving you in a direction of improvement, because constant and never ending improvement is something I could get a little obsessed in.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm a self-development junkie. I'm constantly pouring into my mind new books, new ideas, new thoughts. Even if I don't agree with the author completely, there's elements that I can implement. And if I implement them, then I can offer the opportunity for a change that brings a greater result than what I had imagined.
I like that you said, even if I don't agree.
Yes.
And that's important, because I can't challenge my thinking if I only listen to things and people that are like-minded. Because then it's like, okay, but when somebody goes against that, it's ho, 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 ho. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a different point view or see things differently. It might not be the path I want to go towards, but it's like, wait, that helps me course correct. We do this on course, off course exercise when I do speaking events and different things. So I'll do this on course, off course. And it is hilarious because off course seems to be easier than on course. Why is change hard too? It's like something new. It feels like I'm going on the wrong road.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything is piled up against me. Why? Well, emotional attachment. So, what does that mean? This is the way I've done it for years. Even though it doesn't feel great, it still releases certain chemicals in my brain. I don't get the results I totally want, but I'm sure there's a better way, but not for me.
Yeah. The idea of change, and as we look at that, Charlie, you brought up several points there. So um, the focus you were talking about, if you don't change, the disruption that comes with it, that is what we fight against, that disruption. But it's in that disruption that we get to start anew.
Mm.
And it changes not only the programming, but also our routines. And that's the disruption, because when you have that disruption, it just shakes you up and it's uncomfortable.
And that is getting, accepting, becoming used to, and being okay with being uncomfortable. That's where the game starts to
Right.
change in a
Right.
good way,
Right.
because uncomfortable becomes comfortable, but it takes a little bit of time. So, I I was thinking about you know, I growing up, Stanley, I mean, well, first of all, I guess it wasn't really taught. Like they didn't have in school systems like today we're going to talk about personal development. And
Right.
what that is basically getting to know yourself, getting to understand that thinking creates an action which creates a result, which creates a feeling, which creates emotion, and that area is where you are a product of the way you think. And I mean, not too deep, but at least starting to condition us in a new way. And I didn't know any of this. And I mean, I remember learning that there was another way to do something, and I was blown away. I'm like, how come I'm so stupid? I didn't see that. It's because we don't see outside our tunnel vision unless we read a book, we come to a podcast like this, and we get challenged. And it's like, huh, a new pair of glasses. I can see a little better.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's the programming. And you know, Charlie, that's a great question. Why is this not taught into schools? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want people to change. They want them to go on a program and run the way that things are. But what change brings around ideology, change brings around creativity. It awakens the imagination. And in the comments, Kate says it's so important to see things differently. It's easier to see things the way that we believe. Yeah, because we don't see the world the way that the world is. We see the world the way that we are. And to change, to open our mind to the possibilities and then the probabilities. This is one thing about change, is it doesn't just open up possibilities, it opens up probabilities. And there's where the link comes in to change. You know, what else is possible? And if you did this, what else is possible? Change the way you think, and you'll change the outcomes that you get. Change your brain, because you can with neuroplasticity. They used to think that you were stuck, you were stigmatized by your genetics, your family background, your upbringing, your environment, but they discovered that the brain is so much more powerful than that. And that fact that lasted for a long, long time got debunked. And that's what we're doing here with this podcast, is we're going to challenge the ideology around change and neuroplasticity. And you can create a new environment and a new brain by changing it.
Change your brain, evolve your brain. There's so many books I've read about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you ever hear someone say, I'm wired that way?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
And that is that is a belief that's keeping you stuck and suffering and not getting what you want in life. And then you blame, you complain, you rationalize, justify, and you defend. Hey, I'm wired that way. You
Right.
know, it's just as good as it's going to get. And that's all BS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, is some wiring. Absolutely. But it's an almost infinite potential of the new pathways you can form.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like uh, starting with a camera, and I mean, today I had issues with my camera, but because I understand what makes it work right, it was challenging at first, and I'm just thinking, Stanley, you know, okay, camera is a skill set, right?
Yes.
And skill sets are changed because I need to learn something new. And because I want to go to point B, right? I want to learn how to handle my money better in a software program. I've never done it that way. I used a checkbook. And so that's a new skill set. And that's a big change. And but chunk down, practice, ask for help. Over time it becomes a new habit, a healthier way, and I'm getting better results. So one big area that people really struggle in are skill sets. We don't need to know everything.
Yeah. Um, Here again, Charlie, you bring up many, many great points, and the change that you took place. So let's just go back to you. Were you able to do it on your own?
Let's say the guitar. No, I
No.
needed I hired a teacher.
There you go. So this is where change comes in because we only see the world as we are. And that vulnerability, you reaching out to a professional or somebody that's more trained, gave you the opportunity to be the guitarist that you are. And those changes were uncomfortable. That disruption that took place. How many times did you say, I can't do this? I can't do this. I can't do this. I've tried. I can't do this. How many times do you recall?
Probably more than I thought anything else while I was doing it.
Exactly. And so, this is what I'd like to encourage our listeners as well and our viewers. Don't just try on your own, because trying on your own, you're limited on your resources. And as you take this new intention that you have to change, what is it that you want out of the change? What is the idea around that change? And then find somebody like Charlie or myself to implement that, to help you in that transition. This is what we're skilled at. And, it wasn't comfortable learning all the things that I learned. And it was getting back up and doing it again and again and again. And as repetition, it's not just one time. That's what I'm hearing you say, is that as many times as you played guitar, you were ready to hang it up. How many times? Endless.
Mhm.
And you finally got that note and you made it to the seven, you made it to seven chords or seven stanzas. I'm not a musician. As Charlie has already shared. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, it's the idea of what is the change that we desire and how are we going to go about doing it? And what I say is, if you could implement the change that you want and you could do it on your own, you would have already done it. So offer yourself the gift of allowing somebody else to speak into you and share with you what Charlie has done.
Oh, Stanley, social influence
Yes.
has an incredible pull on stick to itiveness. As in, hey, I'm going to eat this certain way for 30 days. And I'm only doing it because I don't know if the book's right. I don't know if these people, they believe in it, but I don't yet. And
Right.
how do I get to believe in something is that I I do. And all of a sudden I start getting the results that I was hoping for. But during that, hey, you want to get pizza tonight? I can't. But then, hey, you want to do, hey, this social influence, or people say, why are you doing that? Or, it just feels like nobody's agreed to, for your change, and they don't need to. But social influence is so, it can either pull you away from or help lift you up. Like, I don't go to CrossFit gym. Well, I don't anymore, but I didn't go there um, expecting to talk about McDonald's. I I went there and they helped lift me up. Why? They were all had the same why. They wanted to get healthier, stronger, and that's what I wanted. So behind these changes, you got to have a why. Like, it's not just because I feel like walking to the left instead to the right, because each time I go to the right, I trip over that crack and fall down. So now I'm going to go to my why is I want to enjoy my walk more. I want to stop getting cuts on my knee, stuff like that. So it's critical to have a why.
Yeah. Yeah. And understand your meaning behind that why. What is it going to give you? What is this change going to bring about? And to demystify what that change could actually offer. It's a simple ledger sheet, pros and cons, pretty simple. And your title was simple but not easy. Yeah, it is simple, and it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a little bit difficult because it's going against the grain, and it's not quite as hazardous as petting a cat backwards. It's not quite that hazardous. Okay. So, understand that as you do this, as you make these small implements, these small elements of change, it doesn't have to be, you can't climb Mount Everest if you've never climbed a hill. So climb a hill, climb an upgrade, and then the hill, and then Mount Everest, and then, if you so decide that hot shower is not giving you all the results that I keep telling people about, turn that sucker to cold. That'll bring about some change. That'll bring about some ideas in your mind. And it can be your friend. It can be your companion. And the doors that it opens are amazing. They really, really are.
You said that turning it to cold will certainly bring some change. The first, either I will jump out or say that was the dumbest thing I've ever done, because I've slowly been doing it. Like, I'm not the guy that just goes to cold. I keep going a little more, like, this is so dumb. Oh my God. And then the mind can move me away from the focusing on the suffering.
Yeah.
And that, and the benefits of cold plunging and all that, we're definitely not going into that.
Right.
Our other venture, we will. But this is, you got to experience. You can't, so I shouldn't say can't, but here's a good clue. Have you ever noticed in others things they should change? Of course
Right.
you have. Did you ever give them suggestions or say, all right, yes, we all have. Do you ever get frustrated that people keep doing the same bad behavior, we'll call it, and getting the same results, and they don't see it, but you do for them, and you can't understand why they won't change? Well, guess what? If you've done that, that means you can control your own life and make the changes. One of the things I notice is if I spot it, I got it. If
Right.
I see something I want changed outside of me, and once that change happens, it'll fix me, is a lie. If I bring the change, that you want to see in your family, in your corporation, in your game of life. And you will notice that that problem outside of you disappeared because it never was.
Yeah. Be the change that you want to see and stick with it. The thing of it is that when you step out of that normal, or I didn't want to call it normal, I want to call it common, because normal is so exceptional that most people don't even know what normal is. So normal is an exceptional level. It really, really is. And so be the change that you want to see and stick to it. And one of the things that I always offer is, if you change the things you see, the things you see will change. And what I mean by that, okay, is that's kind of one of the things that I give my clients to do. It's a simple exercise. So if they tell me that they walk in a certain path or they drive to work in a certain pattern, it go the same way each time, I say, change it up and go a different way. It may take you an extra 2 minutes or 5 minutes. But if you change that, now you begin to notice things differently. If you walk in a certain path, if you change that order, you walk backwards, not walk backwards, but wherever you start, finish. And wherever you normally finish, start. And you begin to notice things differently because your observation is opened up. And if a simple practice like that can do wonders in your mind, what else is possible?
I'm with you there. It's like if I'm tired in the afternoon, the TV and the programming out there will let me believe that a Snickers bar is a great pick me up, and there's not a lie in there. It is. It gives you a bit of a pickup because it floods you with toxins, well, and sugar. But after that pick me up, something else happens. The body, whatever, it doesn't process it well. It's not. But the TV told me, this commercial said, yeah, this is the solution to your afternoon tiredness. So, but deep down, do I know maybe I should get to bed a little earlier? Or maybe I should drink more water? Or maybe I should exercise a little bit? I mean, there's so many things that we probably know to do, but it's uncomfortable. It's not what I do. What I do is I don't want to leave my office. I just want to keep going. And that's where, Stanley, this competence too. If I'm doing my something a certain way that I've been doing, I'm competent, right?
Right.
Think of driving a car for those who can and have licenses, which I don't, but I can drive. Go back to how incompetent or scared, fear of the unknown, and you had. And oh my gosh, how do you know how much to turn the wheel, like to go that way, and how much brake pedal pressure to stop in a certain amount of distance, and the gas pedal and bumps and all this new connections were going wild in your brain. And you just kept going and kept going. Now, then you become unconsciously competent. What does that mean? That means you can drive, have a conversation on the phone, eat, accidentally look at your phone. You can, do all sorts of things and you get to where you're going. Now, when does that change? Well, if you're on the highway and you got to do lanes or you got to get off, or all of a sudden that I can do all these things, laser focuses and you pay attention, then you go back to. And that's what's going to help us make little changes in our lives, because little changes, you don't need to change everything in the biggest one. Start with something very little and do it, and then appreciate yourself, like celebrate the win. That was nice. Tomorrow I'm going to do the same at this certain time. There's no exceptions. And you'll notice when it gets close, or in that morning, you might say, I didn't sleep that great last night. I do have this going on today, and I think it would be okay if I skip that walk I planned on doing. I'll just do it the next day. It's no big deal. You're done. You're toast. You're allowing your conditioning to run the show and not the you that wants to transform.
Yeah, when we can see a picture of what we want out of the change, and we can see the result at the end. Start from the end and work your way backwards. And like you were saying, Charlie, you impress me. I share you with everybody that I know. Your abilities and the things that you do are absolutely impressive. And I'm not just saying that just to pump you up. I'm telling you authentically, you're an impressive person and you overcome obstacles. You bring about change in your own life. You set an example to others that they watch and they go, how do you do that? And it's those uncomfortable states. And then you're talking about riding a bike. And it is this small adjustment that changes the direction. And that's what a change really is. And these are the small adjustments that I've seen you do. I've known you now for 4 years, and I've watched these small adjustments bring about a massive trajectory change. And it's impressive. And I know you didn't have me on here. You haven't paid me to say this. But I just think it needs to be brought forward. And we need to celebrate those small changes that we've made so that it sets up success, because success leaves clues. And as we change the way that we see ourselves, the way that we present ourselves then becomes different as well.
Well, thank you. And yeah, it didn't stroke my ego what you're saying. Sometimes I used to be embarrassed by people complimenting. I'd be like, stop saying that. I don't deserve that. And I don't attach. I just listen. And Stanley, you know what's a miracle is that you're on this right now with a microphone, a camera, and you did something and you have no idea what's going on, but it's working.
Right.
I remember you've come like amazingly. Technology in you is like roofing in me. I just don't get it, but it is a skill set that you had to, as hard as it was. This is an area for you that if I never have to learn anything in technology, I would be happy. But you began with the end in mind. I want to run my postural company, helping people stop suffering and don't accept that pain in your back, because you can have the one in your neck though, because you're a pain in the neck. But anyway, you challenge people. So I've been living with this for 15 years, and you were in the construction industry and you saw a lot of pain. So you went to school, you learned, and I mean, come on, it's like what? But part to get to more people and do what you want to do and be who you want to be, you had to learn technology.
Exactly.
Not all of it, but the pathway that'll allow you to, because you begin with the end in mind, right?
Right.
And I know you and I've had these conversations.
And we'll have more. And we will have more.
I know, but I was helping you with something, and you're like, I'm like, are you there? You're like, yeah. Well, I'm lost. And I'm like, well, it's pretty simple. Yeah, it isn't to me though. Okay, well, then you need to find someone else. I would never be a good teacher. Now, coaching and helping people learn and see things differently. Well, the way they see themselves is the way they see everything, right? And that is an area that I thrive in, because I embrace that every day. I love change. I love doing new things. I love going down that uncharted territory. Let's see what's going to happen. Because if life, it's how I respond to the environment change, like the stuff outside of us that changes. It's how do I respond to that will determine my outcome. If I react and kick and scream and think they should never have done that. Our town's making a change. I think it's so ridiculous. It costs so much money. I got to get on the town council and teach them. No, it is what it is. I accept it. And, unless it's really bad. But you know what I mean? That's the things in life too. That social influence that keeps us, again, stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to pump you up just a little bit more,
Oh, boy.
Trish says that you are her inspiration as well. And I would imagine, Charlie, that there are many people that are inspired by you, and you didn't become as great as you are born that way. You worked on it. You pressed through the obstacles and turned them into opportunities, which then opened up possibility to more probabilities, and the changes that have taken place in your life. One of the things that, and I don't want to go too far with this, but when somebody comes up to me and goes, "You haven't changed a bit," and I'm going, "You don't know me. You have no idea who I am," because I have changed drastically since, they're looking at the outside. I'm looking at the inside. And so often we judge our abilities by what is on the outside appearance without any words, without anything. But the inside, what's changed on the inside, once you began to speak, people come to you and go, "Man, you're so different than I remember you 20 years ago or 10 years ago or even 5 years ago." So embrace it.
Yeah, and we do see the people. We go, "Wow, you look great. What's the secret formula?" And they might say, "Well, I meditate, I eat healthier, I walk or I exercise, I go volunteer." It's like, and because I did all that, I am much healthier, happier, and wealthier. If you
Right.
go into a corporation and say to the marketing department, "I'm going to come in and help you uh, figure out approaches and processes and systems that will double your results from your marketing," which of course to them is make more money. Or if I'm going to go in and say, "Hey, to the sales field, I'm going to show you guys how to double your income, work less, and get and and how to tolerate these irritating people you work with," some of them. And that person's thinking, "Oh, good, they're going to come in and tell my boss to pay me more money and to fire the people I don't like. Then it will be better." And that isn't the truth. So, you got to market a certain way to get into the place. And then all it is personal development. And then the messaging becomes more clear and better on your documents, and the actions, the synergy, the acceptance, and the working as a team starts to happen in a much more synergistic way.
Yeah.
When they thought I was going to come in and teach them how to make more money, which is how to become a better version of you makes more money.
Right. Exactly. So this has been amazing, Charlie, and it is growing through the changes that, we are the seed planted in a soil, and the fruit that is within us, it only comes about through change.
It is. And I wanted to say, we had a big change that I didn't even talk about in the beginning of this podcast. There's Brenda is not here, in case you didn't notice.
She's not here? Wait.
Yeah. Time for 10. And so Brenda is taking a little personal time and relaxing and doing something she hasn't done in a couple of years. So she's living the dream. Anyway, well, we miss Brenda today because she would have loved this topic. She's going to be so mad. "Oh, and can we do it again?" Just what she'll say. Because Brenda also embraces change, and
Right.
it's scary. And sometimes change, you stop because that path isn't the way I thought it was. But the ideal thing to do is take a look, start small, take an action, celebrate, and continue.
Yep.
And you will notice over time, if you give 100 days, you will say, you will notice how, wow, you might not see it as much either. Somebody outside of you hasn't seen you in a while is going to say, there's a glow in your eye. Your skin is beaming. You have like inspiration in your step. You hold your head high. You walk fast and you have purpose. And it's like, people would say, what are you drinking? Oh, well, it's that I'm not. No, but what is in that Kool-Aid? What are you doing? And like you said, Stanley, it has been years of practice.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing is it hasn't slowed. Like we keep evolving. The spiritual connection, relationships, new people, new opportunities, try to go down this, like starting a nonprofit. That is something that was not anything I ever entertained or wanted to do just because of the name. Non and profit. That's like disability. It's stupid. And I went into it and I've learned and I've done and I'm having some success with it, helping more people.
Well, that's fantastic. And I think that's a great way to bring this to a close.
Yes. Well, thank you, Stanley. You rock. I enjoy our time together. This is very selfish. This is and not really, because you and I would do this in an hour from now with no, not connected to the internet, and that go, oh my God, Stanley, it's been an hour. I gotta go. Because we thrive on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to help people. I want to give it away. I want to show others a path, because I know each and every one of us thinks it could be better. It could be different. I could have more. And yes, you can. That's a good thought. And it starts with today.
It does. It does.
Well, thank you, Stan. And we will see you next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Same place, wherever you're logging in from, or whatever platform, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, that you are streaming and watching us. We appreciate you and thank you for coming, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.